Welcome dear friends to my video lecture on education and culture. How education and culture are interrelated. One depends on the other. Let us examine this fact through this video lecture, and I have given some questions also to examine related to this topic. I am sure this will be of great help to crack NET or TRB with regard to this particular topic. Thank you for your presence. Let us enter into the topic. Education and culture, a deep interconnection. Education and culture are two interrelated aspects of human civilization, each deeply influencing the other. Education refers to the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes through instruction, while culture includes the beliefs, customs, traditions, and values shared by a group of people. Together, education and culture shape individuals and collective identities, influencing how societies develop and function. What is the role of education in culture? Education is often seen as a vehicle for transmitting culture from one generation to the next. It helps preserve and perpetuate the core values and practices of a society. Through education, children learn the language, history, religion, and social norms of the community. This transmission of knowledge is very important for the continuity of cultural heritage. In traditional societies, informal education through family, community, and religious institutions was the primary means of passing on cultural values to other generations. Parents and elders taught the younger generation about the cultural practices, beliefs, and traditions through stories, rituals, and everyday activities. This form of cultural education ensured that societal values were maintained and passed down without the formalized structure we associate with modern education. With the rise of formal education systems, schools, colleges, and universities became central in imparting knowledge. In many countries, education systems are designed in such a way that they reflect and reinforce the dominant culture. For instance, the curriculum may prioritize certain historical events, literature, and language that are considered essential to the national identity. In this sense, education becomes a tool not only for learning but for cultural reinforcement. What is the influence of culture on education? Just as education transmits a culture, culture also shapes education. The values and norms of a particular culture influence what is taught and how it is taught. Education systems are rarely neutral. They are a reflection of the society they serve. For example, in collectivist cultures where the well-being of the group is prioritized over individual success, education may emphasize collaboration, teamwork, and the importance of social harmony. In contrast, individualistic cultures which value personal achievement and independence may stress competition, critical thinking, and self-reliance in their educational approaches. Cultural diversity also plays a significant role in shaping educational experiences. In multicultural societies, educators must navigate the challenge of honoring and integrating various cultural perspectives while maintaining a cohesive, united educational framework. This can involve including different cultural groups' histories, languages, and traditions into the curriculum, ensuring that education is inclusive and representative of the entire student body. What is the interaction of globalization, education, and culture? In recent decades, globalization has brought cultures from around the world into closer contact with one another. This has had a profound impact on education. As people migrate and societies become more interconnected, educational institutions must adapt to increasingly diverse student populations. They must also prepare students for a world in which cross-cultural communication and understanding are essential skills. Globalization has resulted in the blending and merging of different cultural practices, and education has become a platform for fostering global citizenship. Students are now often exposed to multiple languages, world histories, and international perspectives within their classrooms. This has expanded the scope of education, moving it beyond the transmission of national culture to the teaching of global awareness. However, globalization also poses challenges. In many cases, Western educational models and cultural values have been exported to other parts of the world, sometimes at the expense of local traditions. This raises questions about cultural imperialism and the preservation of indigenous knowledge. For example, many indigenous groups have long fought for education systems that reflect their unique cultural heritage rather than being forced to conform to Western ideals of education. How education becomes a force for cultural change. Education is not only a means of transmitting culture but also a powerful agent of cultural change. Throughout history, education has played a critical role in challenging and transforming societal norms, whether through movements for civil rights, gender equality, or environmental sustainability. In modern times, education has been a key driver of social change by empowering individuals with knowledge and critical thinking skills. It challenges traditional norms and helps societies to adapt to new realities, including technological advances and shifting moral standards. For example, education has been instrumental in promoting the idea of gender equality. By educating women and girls, societies have seen shifts in cultural attitudes toward gender roles, leading to more inclusive and equitable communities. Moreover, education can help break down stereotypes and prejudices. By exposing students to different perspectives and encouraging them to think critically, education fosters tolerance, empathy, and understanding. In culturally diverse societies, this function of education is particularly important as it helps create a more harmonious social fabric. What is the importance of culturally responsive education? Given the deep connection between education and culture, it is crucial that educational systems be culturally responsive. This means that educators must be aware of and sensitive to the cultural backgrounds of their students. Culturally responsive education involves acknowledging the diverse cultural identities of students and including their unique experiences or knowledge into the learning process. Culturally responsive education helps students feel seen and valued. When students see their culture reflected in the curriculum, they are more likely to engage with the material and feel a sense of belonging. It also allows students from dominant cultural groups to develop a deeper appreciation for diversity. An important component of culturally responsive education is language. For many students, language is closely tied to their cultural identity. When education is delivered in a student's native language, it affirms their cultural background and can lead to better academic outcomes. In contrast, when students are forced to learn in a language that is not their own, they may feel alienated and disconnected from the learning process. What could we give as concluding remarks? Education and culture are inseparable elements that shape the lives of individuals and societies. While education is a means of transmitting culture, it is also influenced by cultural context in which it occurs. The interaction between education and culture is dynamic, ever growthful, with each shaping and reshaping the other over time as the years go by. As societies continue to evolve, education will remain a powerful force for both preserving cultural traditions and driving cultural change. It has the potential to foster global understanding, promote social justice, and build more inclusive communities. At the same time, educational systems must strive to be culturally responsive, recognizing and valuing the diverse cultural backgrounds of students in order to create an inclusive and supportive learning environment. In this way, education can serve as a bridge between cultures, promoting harmony and mutual understanding in an increasingly interconnected world. Let us examine some of the questions related to this topic, education and culture. What is the primary role of education in relation to culture? To create new cultural values, to transmit culture from one generation to the next, to replace outdated cultural practices, to preserve global cultures equally. What is the primary role of education in relation to culture? That is to transmit culture from one generation to the next. Education serves to pass down the beliefs, values and practices of a society from one generation to the next, ensuring cultural continuity. How did traditional societies primarily educate their younger generations? Through formal schools, through religious institutions alone, through informal family and community methods, by sending them to foreign countries. What is the question? How did traditional societies primarily educate their younger generation? Through informal family and community methods. That is how the culture is transmitted to the children. In traditional societies, education occurred informally within the family and community, where parents and elders taught cultural values and practices. What is the focus of collectivist cultures in education? Individual achievement, teamwork and social harmony, competition and personal success, critical thinking and independence. What is the focus of collectivist cultures in education? That is teamwork and social harmony. In collectivist cultures, the education system emphasizes collaboration and the well-being of the group over individual success. Collectivist culture means a different different types of people from different cultures live together. That is collectivist culture. So in collectivist culture, the education system emphasizes collaboration and the well-being of the group over individual success. In individualistic cultures, what is typically emphasized in education? Social harmony, family values, independence and critical thinking, traditional cultural practices. So in individualistic cultures, what is typically emphasized in education? That is independence and critical thinking. Individualistic cultures prioritize personal achievement, self-reliance and critical thinking, focusing on individual success. What impact has globalization had on education? It has isolated cultures, it has limited cultural exchange, it has fostered global citizenship, it has decreased cross-cultural understanding. What impact has globalization had on education? Globalization has fostered global citizenship. Globalization has brought cultures closer, leading education systems to prepare students for global interaction and cross-cultural communication. So many students get their degrees in different countries. That is the idea of globalization. That is the outcome of globalization. People simply go anywhere in the world and then learn and get their degrees and then use it in their present day life. How does education contribute to cultural change? By reinforcing traditional practices, by imposing one culture over others, by challenging societal norms and promoting progress, by eliminating all forms of cultural expression. How does education contribute to cultural change? By challenging societal norms and promoting progress. Education is a powerful tool for social change, encouraging critical thinking and innovation, often challenging traditional cultural norms. What is the challenge that globalization poses to education? Reduced access to information, the dominance of Western educational models, limited exposure to diverse cultures, over-reliance on traditional teaching methods. What is the challenge that globalization poses to education? The dominance of Western educational models. Globalization sometimes promotes Western educational systems at the expense of local traditions and indigenous knowledge. Why is culturally responsive education important? Why is it important? It ignores cultural differences. It ensures students are trained only in national values. It helps students from diverse backgrounds feel valued and included. It focuses solely on individual performance. Why is culturally responsive education important? It helps students from diverse backgrounds feel valued and included. Culturally responsive education acknowledges and incorporates students' cultural backgrounds, promoting engagement and inclusion. What happens when students see their culture reflected in the curriculum? What happens when students see their culture reflected in the curriculum? They become more disengaged. They are less likely to participate. They feel a sense of belonging and engagement. They struggle academically. So what happens when students see their culture reflected in the curriculum? They feel a sense of belonging and engagement. Students feel a sense of belonging and engagement in whatever they do. When students' cultures are represented in the curriculum, they feel more connected to the learning process and perform better academically. What is an essential element of culturally responsive education? Ignoring students' cultural backgrounds, incorporating students' native languages, enforcing a single cultural perspective, discouraging diverse cultural expressions. What is an essential element of culturally responsive education? That is, incorporating students' native languages. Recognizing and using students' native languages in education can affirm their cultural identity and improve learning outcomes. In which educational setting is informal education more prevalent? Multicultural societies, modern formal schools, traditional societies, online learning environments. In which educational setting is informal education more prevalent? That is in traditional societies. In traditional societies, education often occurs informally through family and community interactions rather than in structured school environments. What challenge does multicultural education present? What challenge does multicultural education present? Balancing diverse cultural perspectives, eliminating traditional teaching methods, focusing exclusively on Western culture, ignoring cultural differences. What challenge does multicultural education present? Balancing diverse cultural perspectives. In multicultural societies, educators must integrate various cultural viewpoints while maintaining a cohesive, united educational framework. What is the potential negative effect of Western educational models in non-Western countries? Increased innovation, suppression of local traditions and knowledge, stronger cultural identities, greater cultural diversity. What is a potential negative effect of Western educational model? That is suppression of local traditions and knowledge. When Western educational models are imposed in non-Western countries, local traditions and indigenous knowledge may be undervalued or lost. I hope you understand this. When Western educational models are imposed, compelled in non-Western countries, local traditions and indigenous local knowledge may be undervalued or lost. How can education help reduce stereotypes and prejudices? By avoiding controversial topics, by exposing students to different perspectives and promoting critical thinking, by focusing solely on national culture, by discouraging discussions of diversity. How can education help reduce stereotypes and prejudices? By focusing students to different perspectives, that is viewpoints, and promoting critical thinking. Education can break down stereotypes by encouraging students to understand different cultures and perspectives. What is a key driver of social change in modern times? Technology, politics, education, and religion. What is a key driver of social change in modern times? That is education. Education empowers individuals to think critically and challenge traditional norms, leading to social and cultural transformation. What role does language play in culturally responsive education? It is irrelevant to education. It helps affirm students' cultural identities. It complicates the learning process. It should be standardized globally. Correct answers. It helps affirm students' cultural identities. Teaching in a student's native language can validate their cultural identity and improve their academic academic performance. Just a minute, some problem. Yeah, just I will address the problem and come to you, because otherwise things may not be saved there. That's a problem. Just a minute, please. Yes, I have finished it. Yes. Just a minute. Yes, I think it's over. Yes. Otherwise it will not be saved. That's why. Yes, now it's all right. Yeah. What is the main function of education in preserving culture? To innovate new cultural forms, to pass down traditions and values. Yes. Sorry for the disturbance. What is the main function of education in preserving culture? To innovate new cultural forms, to pass down traditions and values, to eliminate old beliefs, to promote a single global culture, to pass down traditions and values. Education preserves culture by transmitting traditions, beliefs, and values to future generations. What does culturally responsive education seek to do? Ignore cultural differences in the classroom, promote global values exclusively, address the unique cultural backgrounds of students, focus solely on dominant cultural groups. What does culturally responsive education seek to do? Address the unique cultural backgrounds of students. Culturally responsive education acknowledges the diverse cultural backgrounds of students, fostering inclusion. That is, taking in everyone, even though they are from different cultures. Giving admissions to everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, color. That is the understanding of inclusion. Which of the following best defines a culture? A group's economic status, the shared beliefs, customs, and values of societies, the technology used by a society, a set of government laws. Which of the following best defines culture? That is the shared beliefs, customs, and values of a society. Culture encompasses the shared traditions, beliefs, and values that define a society. How can education help promote global citizenship? By isolating students from other cultures, by teaching about local culture only, by exposing students to international perspectives, by eliminating diverse cultural practices. How can education help promote global citizenship? By exposing students to international perspectives. Education can promote global citizenship by helping students understand different cultures and global issues. Why is it important for education to be inclusive? That is, taking everyone in education. In other words, admitting everyone irrespective of one's caste, creed, color. That is inclusive. Why is it important for education to be inclusive? It helps preserve cultural diversity. It limits the exposure to outside cultures. It promotes conformity. It discourages individual expression. So, why is it important? It helps preserve cultural diversity. Inclusion helps safeguard cultural diversity. Inclusive education ensures that all cultural backgrounds are respected and represented, helping maintain cultural diversity. What is one-way education can foster empathy? What is one-way education can foster empathy by avoiding discussions about different cultures, by teaching students only about their own culture, by encouraging students to learn about and understanding other cultures, by limiting cultural expression in the classroom. That is, by encouraging students to learn about and understand other cultures. Education fosters empathy by exposing students to different cultures, encouraging them to appreciate diversity. What is the relationship between education and social justice? Education reinforces social inequality. Education has no role in promoting justice. Education can challenge injustice and promote equality. Education eliminates cultural differences. What is the relationship between education and social justice? That is, education can challenge injustice and promote equality. Education equips individuals with the knowledge and critical thinking skills to challenge social injustice and advocate for equality. What role does critical thinking play in education? It limits the students' cultural understanding. It encourages students to question societal norms. It reinforces traditional cultural values. It discourages creative thought. What role does critical thinking play in education? That is, it encourages students to question societal norms. Critical thinking in education helps students analyze and question existing cultural and societal norms, fostering innovation and change. In a multicultural classroom, what is the primary challenge for educators? Promoting only the dominant culture, addressing the needs of students from diverse cultural backgrounds, limiting cultural diversity, standardizing educational materials globally. In multicultural classroom, what is the primary challenge for educators? That is, addressing the needs of students from diverse educational cultural backgrounds. In multicultural classrooms, educators must ensure that students from various cultural backgrounds feel included and supported in the learning process. So, in multicultural classroom, teachers must ensure that students from various cultural backgrounds feel included and supported in the learning process. In other words, they are accepted wholeheartedly by everyone in the classroom. Thank you very much, dear friends. God bless you abundantly. Let us meet in other video lectures. Kindly subscribe, like, comment, so that it helps me to create better and more meaningful videos for you in such a manner that you are able to crack NET or TRB education. God bless you abundantly. Let us meet in other video lectures.